Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Andrew. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. It was my great pleasure to announce New Relic logs this morning. You may have seen me bouncing around on the stage. Just a little bit of bouncing. It's pretty eager for 7 in the morning. So I know it's post-lunch. Everyone's got a little bit of the post-lunch slump, so we're going to try and keep this a little bit entertaining. We're here to talk about what is New Relic logs, how it works, what it means to you. So to begin with, who are we?
Well, my name is Jené Scott. I am a software engineer on the logging team at New Relic. I've been with New Relic for about 3 years, initially starting off with the platform engineering group, focusing on account, subscription, and usage.
Yeah, and as I said, my name is Julian Giuca. I've been at New Relic for about 9 years. And for 8 of those years, I've been a software engineer. So if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that software engineers have pretty strong opinions about how logging should work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. Why logs? Followed by the design principles, what we discovered on our journey, which has really shaped the shape of the product that we've built today. Followed by a pretty sweet demo, if you ask me, a little bias. And then lastly, our vision, where we're going with this.
Absolutely.
So Jené, why logs?
Why logs? That's a great question. Well, in my experience, I've found that logging has always been an invaluable tool for developers, engineers, and DevOps managers alike, right? And many of the teams that I've even worked with since I've been at New Relic have desired a much better logging solution. And who in this room hasn't? Can I see your hands? Anybody want a better logging solution?
Like logging kind of sucks.
Everybody does, right? Many of the shifts in the industry over the past few years have shown us that this fact is all the more relevant. We need something better for logs. I mean, microservices, modern architecture, ephemeral services, and the shift to managed services like AWS have shown us that the need for logs has only grown. So, for example, you really can't SSH into an instance that's been destroyed, right? You also can't SSH into an Amazon load balancer. The dependency on frameworks has shifted to single-purpose applications that have only become harder and harder to instrument. Now, of course, at New Relic, we know this. We understand this very well. Our customers know that. You guys understand this, right? And you asked us for a much better observability platform. And that's what we delivered. Logging is a major pillar of that platform. On the logging team, we did a lot of work and a lot of research. And we developed our own opinions about what logging meant to us. But so did our customers.
Yeah, bringing us back to software engineers, surprisingly opinionated about things. So we started this project by talking to as many customers as we could. We've been working on this for a while, and every step along the way, every week, we're sitting down, we're watching people onboard, we're hearing about their pains with existing tooling, and we kept asking ourselves, how can we make this better? Yeah. And it was really interesting. It didn't matter whether it was a small startup or a large enterprise, whether they had this tiny little on-prem install or using the cloud, or if they had this huge multi-million-dollar install, we kept hearing the same points of feedback. And I remember having a conversation with one customer. And he sat down and he said to me, Julian, this was over video call, so he wasn't pointing. Julian, he says, why am I paying for best of breed in logging if my engineers can't use it? And this really resonated with me. He's paying millions and millions of dollars, and it's 2 in the morning, and something catches fire, and you're woken up, and you go to the alert, you copy and paste it, and then you're correlating timestamps. And these tools are hard, they're cumbersome, they're complex, they have a ton of functionality, to the point where often there will be dedicated teams to manage these logging instances. And these teams set up templates, or sometimes they adjudicate who's allowed to log and who isn't allowed to log. And these ideas seemed really, really counterintuitive to us. Logging is this amazing source of knowledge of like when something goes wrong, this is the why. Why did it go wrong? And have someone be like, I don't know, I don't think your application's that important. Not today. It just seemed really against what we wanted to build.
Right.
So this led to our design principles. We wanted to build something that was scalable, that managed whether it's a Black Friday or just a lull, just a Tuesday. We wanted to build something that was fast. Fast and forgiving.
Very fast.
We wanted something that was approachable. No learning curve. None of this, hey, it's 2 in the morning, what am I doing? How do I get this to work again? And lastly, our customers presented this idea to us. New Relic has an opportunity. Log data is everywhere, but so is New Relic. We're already inside your infrastructure, already inside your applications. We have an opportunity to be connected, to make a better logging experience.
Absolutely.
So we're going to touch on these design principles a little bit more, and then we're going to go into a demo. So Jené, what does scalable mean?
Well, our product is scalable. Like Julian said, with our product, you don't really need to hire a whole team of people to manage your logging instance. Send us your data and allow us to manage it for you because we know you have better things to do with your time and your resources, right?
Yeah.
So I want to share a scenario with you that one of our customers shared with us. Now, this particular customer, unfortunately, was a victim of a DDoS attack, and that's pretty terrible, right?
That's pretty bad.
With this attack, their entire login instance went down. Now, with New Relic, I can say...
Wait. So you're saying someone got a DDoS attack, their site stayed up, but their logging, their instrumentation went down?
It went completely down.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It's a terrible experience, right? It's a terrible user experience.
We can do better.
We can do much better, and we already have done better. With our logging tool, we have a massive SaaS platform that's backing it, and we call that NRDB. And at New Relic, we're also extremely proud of our ingestion pipeline. So for example, we're launching logging today. You can sign up and start sending us up to 5 terabytes of data per day. I think that's pretty amazing.
That's huge.
Another thing that we think is pretty awesome is that we don't use indexes. So a lot of vendors can't say that they don't use indexes. What do you think about that, Julian?
Yeah, so remember that time that you were searching for a thing in your log data and it was taking like 46 years to get back to you? This is because you hadn't set up the index ahead of time. What were you thinking? Why wouldn't you have done that? We don't have that problem.
Right.
We put all of our data into NRDB. NRDB is this massive multi-tenant MapReduce database. It just slams through all of that data. I have people come up to me every day in these calls with customers. They say, how is it that we have no indexes? This is because we're multi-tenant. We have thousands of high-performance servers that are just ready to go. And they'll find every occurrence of whatever it is you're looking for in your log data.
Absolutely. And like I said, we're just launching this product and we're getting started. This is where we're starting.
This is just the beginning. So it's fast. We've said that it's fast. New Relic generates around 10 terabytes of data. In the demo, we'll go and show this off again. We can search that in like a second. It's kind of amazing. On top of that, we wanted to meet you halfway. So it's pretty fast to get set up. We plug into Logstash, Fluentd, into all the tools that you already use.
Right.
And again, you just type in a word, and you're able to find the results of what you're looking for.
Well, Julian, I think one of the best things about our service being fast is that we offer a very fast and forgiving search. So I want to reference that customer we talked about before that experienced that DDoS attack. At the time of this attack, their multi-million-dollar login instance failed over. But not only did that happen, they also found that it was taking 15 plus minutes for them to query about an hour's worth of data. I think that's pretty ridiculous. You guys, would you sit in front of your computer for 15 minutes and wait for a query to come back? No, it's too slow, right? It's absolutely too slow. And like I said before, with New Relic, that would not be the case because we have the power of NRDB. So you can completely sign up for logs today and start sending us that information, and you'll see how fast our service is. Another thing about our service that I think is great, and Julian referenced this earlier, is that we already have your data. You don't have to boot up another tool just to view your logging data. You can view your logging data in New Relic right next to your performance data. The last thing I want to highlight about this is that our team has spent a lot of time really focusing on how to provide the best user experience. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So we built this tool on top of the solutions you're already familiar with. So things like Logstash, Fluentd, FluentBit, Kubernetes, AWS Firelines Beta. And we're also using an industry standard query language. So you're not going to be spending your time relearning all of the things that you already know.
Yeah. And lastly, this is the connected opportunity. This is what our customers took to us. And because we are everywhere, sure, it's the same log data that you're used to using, but we have an opportunity to change the way that you're interacting with it. This is a new way of exploring your log data. It's taking the dependency on search away, and we're zip tying your logs to your transactions, to your errors. You're able to find exactly the why really, really quickly. So
we're going to do a demo. We're going to give you a high-level overview of the login experience. We're going to show you how you can explore your data. We're also going to jump into the Kubernetes Explorer and show you how to find your logs from there. And then we'll do the same with distributed tracing. And lastly, we'll show you, I think this is Julian's favorite, we're going to show you the APM errors view, how you can go from that page directly into the surrounding logs. So let's get started.
yeah, let's do it. All right, so this is pretty similar to what we saw this morning. This is New Relic production. This is the 10 terabytes of log data a day that we generate. Yeah, some days it's more, some days it's less. Hopefully today there's a bunch more. We're going to go and search for every occurrence of the word warning, same as before. And again, this is going to slam through all of that data and get every occurrence from every system that's generating a warning. You were done before I finished my sentence. Like, it is so really, really fast. And again, this is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. So like you might be able to tell, really excited about this. We have such an opportunity ahead of us here. This isn't a real use case. You don't really want to look at just the warnings coming out of the system. We can narrow this down. We can go and find, Jené, what's your favorite application?
RPM UI?
Yeah, go and pull up the service name RPM UI.
Oops.
All right, so what we're going to see here is we're able to change the search, narrow this down. Again, really quick, go wide, begin to narrow it all down. All of this data is meant to be malleable. You want to put wildcards around that, I think.
Oh, my bad.
Or maybe it's RPM-UI.
My bad, we're gonna get it, okay.
Live demos, right?
There we go.
All right, so we've narrowed this down to all of the warnings coming out of a specific application. This data is malleable. It's for us to touch and play with. We can copy and paste. We can click on the log lines. We can strip things out. We can add to it. All of this, it's tangible. And this is how it's meant to be. When you're looking at logs, you don't know what you're looking for. You're looking for a needle in the haystack. And we've tried to build something that allows you to explore, that doesn't penalize you for getting it wrong. Other things that we can do is we can click on any of these attributes. We can see all of the different host names that are generating log data. And again, get the time series breakdown. We could zoom in on a moment in time. Oops. And again, it's fast. It's for you to explore. So let's jump into the Demotron account.
Sure.
And let's do a more realistic use case. So we know that this is our demo application. We know that this is throwing a no method error. It happens pretty intermittently. It's every couple days. So let's make sure we've got a nice big time window on this one.
All right.
And for me as a developer, this is what my day was like. I'd deploy something to production, I'd find an error. And it's always this needle in the haystack. I can go and hit my logs and I can find the occurrence of the error, but that doesn't really tell me anything. What we've built is the ability to click on the log and get all of that additional rich metadata that's attached to the log. And you're empowered to put as much or as little as you want on here. This is all powered by Logstash or Fluentd. It's powered by AWS. And I have to say, AWS Filen's beta is kind of amazing. I'd strongly recommend people trying it out. And we can reorient this data. So in our case, let's reorient the data by host name. What we're going to do is we're going to keep the log line, but it's going to change the search. So this is, you find the thing that you're looking for, the needle in the haystack, but you need to go wide again. This is why. Why have we had this error? And we can see the sequence of events that has led to this log line. So we've pulled something from the database, an error's been thrown, missing a field reference, and there's our no method error. Apparently I need to get better at programming. Get Lou involved. Because we're New Relic, we also have alerting on this data. Alerts on logs. Apparently that's a thing that people need. So it's built into the same UI. You don't need to do anything more than run a search. This is the data that you want to alert on, and you can go and set an alert. And again, because we're New Relic, we've got dashboarding on this data. So you can have visualizations of your log data right alongside all of your telemetry data. You can go and see, in this case, the throughput of the errors versus the throughput of log lines.
That's awesome.
So this is kind of the table stakes of logging. This is the fast search. This is dashboarding. This is alerting. This is table stakes. This is where we need it to be. We want it to do more than that. And internally we call it logs in context. Internally, affectionately, we call it logs in context. This is the stuff that gets me really excited. So if you could jump over into the Kubernetes Explorer, which we covered this morning, a absolutely delicious tool. So we can go and find a pod that's misbehaving, and we're able to diagnose. We're able to go really deep. And we're trying to do this across all of the different properties at New Relic. Everything generates log data. We can tie in. So we can tie in exactly to the logs at this moment in time for this pod. Be so kind.
There we go.
And this is an infinite scroll. You can go back, you can go forth, you can jump around. You have all of those attributes that you can interact with. This is the at-a-glance view of everything that's happening. And again, we can click on these log lines, and you get all of the additional metadata that's going on with this application. So this is a pod that's running out of memory, and it's crashing every 5 minutes. We can see that. We can see that sequence of events. We can see it. And again, you can dashboard. You can alert on it. And it ties in with Kubernetes. We have the same with distributed tracing. So distributed tracing, again, a wonderful tool. It traverses your application for every request response that comes in. And it also goes across multiple services. So you might be going through Lambda. It might be going through an async service that you've set up. We're able to follow the transaction across, but we're also able to stitch all of the logs for that transaction as well. And this is the idea that we had. These are the logs that were related to this transaction. The idea that we had is, why search? This is it. There is no more data. This is the beginning and the end of the transaction from a telemetry point of view and from the logging point of view. This is everything, and it's all together in one spot. Now, Jené mentioned this before. My personal favorite is APM errors.
Yeah.
As I said, for the last 8 years of being a developer, I tended to end up in the errors page more than a little bit. We've zip-tied this data together. It means that I can look at an error and jump instantly over into the logs. And again, this is the why. New Relic logs lets us get to the why of this error really quickly. We've got this infinite scroll. We can scroll up and we can see this is a stack trace that we just saw, but we can see the sequence of events that led to this moment in time. You have to understand, this is within that giant fire hose of log data. We have automatically zeroed you into that one transaction at that moment in time. So you don't have to do the hard work. You don't have to search. You don't need to find the needle in the haystack. It's right there. It's attached to that distributed trace, to that APM error.
Awesome.
So there's a ton more functionality that we're not going to cover. I encourage everyone to go and kick the tires, not kick it. Please don't do that. Kick the tires on it. It's 5 terabytes a day in our trial for next month. Try it out. Give us feedback. But Jené, how does it work?
Well, we offer a variety of different ways for you to send us your logging data.
May we go back to the slides, please? There we go.
All right. So whether you're using a cloud-based log forwarder or one of the more traditional ones, you can connect to New Relic and send us your log data with ease. So if you're using Kubernetes perhaps for container orchestration, or CloudWatch for monitoring, or even Lambda for serverless computing, again, you can connect to us because we have these solutions already available and send us your log data with ease. Additionally, we have a ton of output plugins available. Well, the 3 most important ones, I should say. We currently have output plugins for FluentD, FluentBit, and Logstash. So again, these are tools that you already know how to use. You can download or access our plugins and start sending us your data right away.
Yeah, and the logs in context, this correlation piece. This is kind of the magic. This is because New Relic is inside of your application. So available now and over the next couple months, we have modified our language agents to better understand how your logging frameworks work. So if you upgrade to the newest language agents, at the moment we have we have Go and Java. Ruby's coming out at the end of the month, and other languages coming very soon. There's a little bit of configuration around how your log framework works. And what that does is it enriches your log output. It stamps things like trace ID and span ID in the logs. So we get this point of correlation across the 2 different streams of data. So we get it coming through the metrics, through distributed tracing, through APM errors, but we also get it through the logs, and we're able to extract that out. And that point of correlation allows us to have this needle in the haystack zip tie. It's like a magnet. It just zeroes right in. And that's the magic. And again, this is just the beginning. So I'm, obviously a little excited.
Very excited.
So, that being said,
what's coming next?
Yeah, what's coming next? I want to talk a little bit about the vision of this project. Today's the launch day, but it's log data. This is a thing that's been around forever. And there is so much for us to do. There's so much innovation that's ahead of us. Particularly, there are 2 ideas that over the last year of sitting down and talking to customers every week, and in turn, I hope to keep talking to customers every week, so please come find me. Tell us how to do it better. This is how we make better software. There were 2 things that really stuck out to me. I want to make it really dead simple for you to send us log data. Over the course of the last year, we've seen that there's actually quite a lot of pain in that logging ecosystem, in setting up Logstash, in managing configs. And it just doesn't have to be that way. We can do better. And the reason is log data is kind of shit. But when you extract the data, when you can enrich it, when you can put additional metadata on top of it, that's when it really shines. That's when you can visualize it. That's when you can zip tie it together with other data. So if we can make that process easy, and we can, then it makes everyone's life better, and we can get more value out of the logs. We can get more value out of APM. It's the full picture. It's that observability. Now, we also want to make it easy to find what you're looking for. Obviously, this means let's have a good search. But we can do better than search. I don't want to look for the needle in the haystack. We are inside all of these different facets of your application. So we can apply the same trace ID, span ID, zip tie across everything that we monitor, which means that you don't have to search. It's just a click. It's just a click away. It's right there, ready for you to get. So that's kind of the broad statement of where we're going. Jené?
So in summation, go over what we talked about today. So like I said, anyone can send us up to 5 terabytes of data per day. We currently offer 8, 15, and 30 days worth of retention. And like I said, we support FluentD, FluentBit, Logstash, AWS, CloudWatch, Kubernetes, AWS FireLens Beta, all of those things. And we talked about logs and context briefly, but logs and context will be available for selected logging frameworks such as Java and Go. And like Julian said, Ruby is coming soon. And more languages and frameworks will be released soon as well.
Yeah, and so with that,
Good.
I encourage any questions.
Anybody? Anybody? I can't see.
Long-term log retention and export. So to paraphrase, the question was, we do 8, 15, 30 days retention, and how are we going to deal with long-term requirements? Is that accurate? We've built a tool that's very specifically focused on developers and DevOps. So we are building something that's all oriented around this super fast search. This is a real concern, but it's also not the sweet spot that we're aiming for today. The way that this project works is that we have been listening to our customers. And as we get demand for these things, we will add support for it. That's my non-answer answer. We would love to do it, but I'm sorry?
I cannot hear you.
Yeah, something like that would be fantastic. He said some facility to export. Yes, that would be fantastic. We actually, Insights, NRDB, which is the underlying data store, has the ability to archive data into S3, and then you can use data, queries like Athena to query over that data. So that does already exist. You need to contact your account rep in order to get that enabled on your account. Yeah.
Alerting?
Yeah, so all of the data is in NRDB, and you can alert. The question was, what can you alert on within the logs? All of the data is in NRDB, and if you're familiar with that, you can set up NERQL alerting. So as complex or as simple as you can do with a NERQL alert is what you can do with the log data. So this could be anything as complex as if I see more than 10 errors coming out of this host, set an alert. Or it could be far more complicated, this and this, or this, not this. You can string all of that together and alert on thresholds of counts or absence. Can you attach to a stream of logs and see them in real time?
It's the future, right? That's our future hope.
So we're reliant on CloudWatch, on FluentD, on Logstash to send us the data. That time to glass is about 3 seconds. We don't have a live tail yet. Watch this space. But with a refresh, with a different query, the data is there more or less instantly. It's about a 3-second time to glass. And that Logstash, FluentD, they can tail files and send that over to us instantly. Same with CloudWatch, all of these different connectors. In the red.
You mean like other services? Other logging solutions?
Yeah, you have some early customers started using this logging service. How did their log practices change?
Yeah, so the question was, how did our early access customers' behavior with log data change with the logs in context functionality? And the answer is it didn't really. Logging kind of comes down to this cover your ass idea. Everyone logs because it's the last worst chance to go and find out what went wrong. So whilst we do tie that data together, you still need to log everything in order to have that data there. So we found that people spent less time searching, but they still needed to log everything. I mean, it didn't change their logging behavior.
I will say I believe that we offer a better user experience overall, though. So I think that's something that's very different about our product than those other products they were using before.
So there's a question in the blue.
Yeah, so can I build charts and graphs based on my log data?
Absolutely. The question was, can you build charts based off your log data? Absolutely. This is in NRDB. It's the same engine that does all of our visualizations, so you can have visualizations right alongside your other telemetry data. This can be table view, pie charts, stack charts, and just like with the loading, you get to slice and dice the way that that data is represented to you. Oh, sneaky second question. Oh.
If I wanted to get custom log data or syslog data, into the log data, should I use stats or something?
Yeah, so at the moment we have a HTTP endpoint as an API, but we have all of these output plugins. So if you wanted to, the question was, how do I get syslog data over? If you want to send syslog data over, at the moment we're dependent on FluentD being the intermediary, or Logstash, or whatever takes your fancy. You can write your own and use our HTTP API. I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. It's a terrible idea. Use FluentD to be the intermediary between syslog and us, and you'll have an amazing time. Put a grok filter in place, and you'll get all of those beautiful attributes that you can start fastening on and alerting on. So I saw a question. Oh, someone's got a microphone. That's exciting.
Give me a mic. So question is, are you applying any machine learning to the log data that you're gathering? And sneaky follow-up question, if you are, is learning from customer A going to be applied to customer B? Like if training data from customer A learns something, will it also apply to customer B? But that's if you're using machine.
Super simple answer at this moment in time. The answer is no.
Great.
Yeah, logging has been an idea that we've been exploring at New Relic for a long time. We've been looking at this for, in earnest, around 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. And we've had ideas around machine learning, we've had ideas around correlation, we've had ideas around connectivity with other platforms. And there are other vendors that do a pretty good job at all of that. Our specialty is really that developer, that DevOps experience. And we realize that being able to tie into the agents and the things that New Relic already monitors is really a unique and pretty amazing proposition. We've got this massive data engine that can slam through the volume of data. So it sort of took the pressure away from having to have the smarts to whittle it down and find the features out of log events. But yes, this roadmap is amazing. It's powered by customers. Please come talk to me. Shake me a couple times. We'll see what we can do for you in the next few months to years. So the question was, can I clarify the limitations on not supported languages like Python? We will have all of the language support soon. So this will just be a matter of a month or 2 or 3. I don't know. That's not my space to actually put timelines to, so don't quote me on that. There aren't really any limitations. You don't have the in context. You don't have that enrichment of log data without the agent modifications. But you can still log, and you can still run your FluentD parsers against your Python logs. I come from a Rails background, a Ruby background, so in my head it's just like everything looks like Ruby, and then you run a parser against it, and you're like, look at all the data, it's log levels, woo! So there's still a huge amount of value from having the data in our very fast and facetable search engine, but the magic of being in the agent, that's coming soon.
Yeah.
And to actually follow up on that question, we need to understand how the logging framework works. And so, for example, in Java, in Ruby, in Go, and all of these things, we're building these plugins that sit on top of, for example, log4j2, or the standard Ruby outputter, or Logorus in Go.
Log data ingestion depended on the external sources of the list of the data sources that you mentioned?
So the question was, is the log data ingestion limited to the sources of data? This is, unfortunately, is going to be our last question, because we are now over time. I mean, there are rules of physics that are involved, but like we have a massive ingestion pipeline. We're really, really good at taking data. You can throw a lot at us. There are definitely limits involved, but as long as it's text data, as long as it's not binary, then you're going to have a pretty good time with our product.
We already have the Relic and Jené. Python that code itself directly run that, depending on some of the sources.
Yeah, so we don't have an output. So the question was, I believe, how can we send data from something like Python? The languages themselves, the agents themselves, don't send the log data to us directly. We're dependent on an intermediary to send the data. We made that decision because we didn't want to add overhead into your applications. Log data is really verbose, and having to deal with retries, having to deal with buffering and bundling and compression, that adds latency that we didn't want to add. So by throwing it onto FluentD's responsibility, it kind of takes the onus away from your application, which is built to solve your business problems. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And come see us at the logging booth.
Thank you.